Thank you so much. It's pretty exciting to be in Washington and actually have people cheer for you when you get behind a podium. I have to say, I think it's a first for me. It is such an honor and so exciting to be with so many people who absolutely love this country. And I am so thankful that I get to be here and share this time with each of you today. You know, as I travel around the country, I found that people know me for a lot of different things. I have some good, some not. I have found that people know me as Mike Huckabee's daughter. Everywhere I go, I get asked about my dad. I had a lady come up to me the other day and say, "Do you ever get sick and tired of people asking you about being Mike Huckabee's daughter?" I said, "Absolutely not." Because not only was he one of the best governors my state has ever seen, he's one of the best governors our country has ever seen. And more important than that, he's one of the very best people I have ever known. So I'm always incredibly proud when people know me because of that. However, we were both at an event not too long ago, and he got introduced ahead of me as Sarah's dad. And I have to say, I didn't hate that either. It was a kind of a nice turn. You know, one of the other things people always seem to know is that I'm the former White House press secretary for President Donald Trump. And that, too, is something I am incredibly proud of. I'm proud of the fact that I worked for a president who understood what America First was, unlike the weak and incompetent leadership that we have in Washington, D.C. right now. I'm proud of the fact that we had a president who delivered on the America First agenda every single day, on lower taxes, securing the border, taking on China in a way that had never been done before, actually fighting for the American worker, and delivering a conservative Supreme Court that gave the pro-life community the greatest win in the history of the United States. So I'm proud when people know me in that role. And now I'm very excited and proud of the fact that the people in my home state of Arkansas know me as the Republican nominee for governor. That's something I'm very proud of. And while each of those things are amazing, and I'm always thankful for those associations, the greatest title I have had and will ever have is that of being a mom. As Brooke mentioned, I have 3 incredible kids, Scarlett, Huck, and George, who are 10, 8, and 7. They keep us on our toes. In fact, when I started at the White House, my kids were 5, 3, and 1. Let that sink in for just a minute. I think I was one of the only people that came to the White House to get a break because it was actually easier than being at home trying to help raise our 3 kids. But my kids not only helped remind me of what was important and what was at stake every single time I walked into that building and as I'm running for office now, but they also kept me humble. Not too long ago, our daughter Scarlett, who's 10 going on 25, was getting ready for her first ever father-daughter dance. It was a really big deal at our house. My daughter had clearly seen one too many princess movies because she had a perfect vision of what that night was going to look like. And it was my job to execute it flawlessly. So we spent the entire day making sure the hair, the dress, the nails, everything was perfect. And she didn't just want to go to the dance, she wanted the big reveal. She wanted to come down the stairs and her Prince Charming, my husband, to be standing there waiting with a very specific flower in hand. And so I'm putting the final touches on Scarlett, and I'm telling her how proud we are of her, how thankful I am that God chose us to be her parents, how beautiful she is on the inside and the out. As I'm having this moment, I start to get emotional, thinking that we're sharing this really special time. As I'm tearing up and getting emotional, Scarlett reaches up and pats my shoulder, says, "It's okay, Mommy. One day you can be pretty too." So just for a moment, you know, you can come into a room like this and people cheer and clap when you come in, and you start to think, you know what? I may not be that bad after all. And then you go home, and your kids remind you very quickly, you are actually not that special after all. And my kids do that. They keep me humble. but more importantly, they keep me focused. They make sure that I remember that every single thing that we are working on, every single thing that an organization like America First is doing will have a direct impact on the life of my kids. The reason I'm running for office is because I love my country. I love my state. And I want my kids to inherit the same Arkansas and the same America that I grew up in. But the one that it will get is not going to be the one that we had if we don't fight for it. If we don't make sure that we are doing things that are putting our country first. If we don't do things that are helping fight for the American worker, lower taxes, secure our border, those are things we have to spend time on and make sure we're delivering on. Educating, not indoctrinating our kids. Making sure that we are actually rewarding, not penalizing hard work. And those are things that this organization is very focused on and why I'm proud to be here today. Over the course of the 2.5 years that I spent at the White House, one of the most incredible opportunities I had was getting to travel with the president literally all over the world. Went to nearly 30 different countries with him. And every single place we went, I was reminded of what an incredible blessing it is to wake up every single day and call myself an American. If you hear nothing else that I say today, I hope you will remember this. America is the greatest country that the world has ever known, and we should never apologize for it. But let's not forget why we're the greatest country. America's the greatest country the world has ever known because we're the freest country the world has ever known. But that freedom was anything but free. In each of those trips that we went on, we got to be surrounded by the greatest of those among us, the men and women in our armed forces. On one particular trip that we went on, it was unlike anything any of us had ever done before and probably will ever do again. It was December 25th of 2018. It was Christmas night. My husband Brian and I had just finished cleaning up wrapping paper that was shoved in practically every corner of our house when I had to walk out on my own family's Christmas, unable to tell them where I was going that night because the place I'd be traveling to with the president was so dangerous. They didn't want anybody in the world to know that he'd be on the ground even for a few hours. Yet we have men and women who live there serving, sacrificing, missing every holiday with their family so that we get to live free in this great country. When we boarded Air Force One, it was in a way that none of us had ever done before. In total darkness. There were no lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. The shades were pulled down, our cell phones were turned off. We were going as far off the grid as you could go. And 15 hours later, when we touched down in the war-torn part of western Iraq, it was a similar scene. No lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. The only thing you could see was a glimmer of light coming from about a mile away from where we had landed. The reason there was light coming from that location was a dining hall packed full of hundreds of troops who had absolutely no idea that the President and First Lady were about to walk in. And when they did, a sight and a scene and frankly a sound that I hope I never forget unfolded. You had men and women from every region of the country, every political party, every religion, every demographic you can imagine represented in that room. But in that one moment, in perfect unity, they chanted over and over and over again, USA, USA, USA. It was an absolutely perfect picture of what makes America so incredible. Men and women willing to put everything on the line, in many cases making the ultimate sacrifice so that each of us get to live free in this great country. As the President and First Lady started to make their way around the room, one of the young soldiers yelled from the back. He said, "Mr. President, I re-enlisted in the military because of you." And the President said, "And son, I'm here because of you." It was an incredible moment of two people serving in completely different capacities, but in that moment fully committed to doing everything they could in the fight for freedom. As the president walked off and continued thanking each of the soldiers, that young man came up to me. He said, "Sarah, you have a tough job." I thought, "Are you kidding? I take questions. You take bombs and bullets." I said, "What I do is nothing." And in a moment I will never forget, he reached up and he tore the Brave Rifles patch that he wore on his shoulder. And he placed it into my hand. He said, "Sarah, we are in this together." Ladies and gentlemen, that's who we are as a country. That young man and everyone that serves alongside him, all of those who have come before him, and the thousands that we know that will be called upon to come after, deserve to know that they have a country and a community of people back home that are doing their part in the fight for freedom. I know by your presence here today you care about this country, that you love this country. And I ask that we follow what that young soldier said, and that we do it together, that we fight for the preservation of America so that we have the ability to pass that freedom down to the next generation. That's our moral obligation that we have. That's why this organization is important. That's why each one of us being part of the fight is so important. We're not all called to serve on the physical battlefields of Iraq. Frankly, we're not all called to run for office. But we do all have a part to play in making sure that the greatness of America continues and that our kids get to enjoy it in the same way that we do. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for letting me be a part of this special day. God bless you. God bless our great country. Thank you.